Welcome everybody to National Social Impact Day. And I can't quite believe that we now have a National Social Impact Day. This year, the theme is Impact Created Through Social Enterprise. And you've been on one hell of a journey with us here at Social Impact Ireland for the last 6 years, but in particular with the Impact Trail. And it has been nothing but absolute privilege and pleasure to be on the Impact Trail and meet all of you and talk about the impact that you're having in the communities within which you operate, talk about the future of social enterprise. We have the new social enterprise policy coming early next year. There's lots of nervousness and anticipation around that. But really today is about bringing all of that together and celebrating each and every one of us that works in the social impact space, celebrating the founders, the co-founders, the volunteers, the employees, the full-time, the part-time, all of the people that make social enterprises happen and create that wonderful impact that we all benefit from. So please join me on this really lovely journey that we're going to take you on for the next hour, highlighting that impact that we're here today to celebrate, not just from the Impact Trail, but just from the social enterprise space in general.
Hello everyone, wishing you all a very happy Social Impact Day on behalf of myself, Donald Traynor, and the team here at Community Finance Ireland, where for the last 20 years we've been providing hundreds of community groups and social enterprises with social finance, enabling them, enable themselves, and creating the social impact for those around them. We're very much looking forward to engaging and collaborating with many of you change makers at some point in the future. But for today, enjoy your day, you very much deserve it.
Happy National Social Impact Day from all of us here in Rethink Ireland. In Rethink Ireland, we support not-for-profits across all sectors to grow and scale and increase their impact, making a significant difference on many social issues.
Hi, on behalf of everyone in Surrey, happy Social Impact Day. It's not only fantastic to see social impact being celebrated, it's also imperative that that impact message is heard loudly by all. Here's to lots more conversations and loads of evidence.
From everybody at the Community Enterprise Association Ireland, we wish you a very happy Social Impact Day. We are proud at CEAI to represent over 250 community enterprise centres and enterprise hubs right around the country, all of which have been delivering impact into communities since the late 80s.
Hi there, I'm Sean Darcy. I'm the Social Enterprise Officer at The Wheel, and I wanted to wish everybody a very happy and successful Social Impact Day. As part of my job, I'm lucky enough to travel up and down the country to see firsthand the tremendous social impact that organisations are having right across the country. So I wanted to wish everybody a great day, and I wanted to congratulate Social Impact Ireland on the tremendous initiative that they are showing in this space.
Hi, I'm delighted to be here celebrating National Social Impact Day. Hubble has been contributing to communities and socially impactful programmes for the last 30 years. We look forward to continuing to support the social inclusion agenda, developing communities and combating disadvantage as we move towards 2023.
Here at Social Impact Ireland, we were really about impact and the impact that social enterprises provide throughout Ireland.
So the three objectives that Digital Hub have. One is digital enterprise. We're a space here for companies who are involved in challenging or addressing or coming up with solutions around societal challenges, right? Societal problems.
So first of all, that social enterprise is an extremely effective model. You can do things with social enterprise that charity can't do and that private business certainly can't do. Secondly, as a social entrepreneur, you always need to remember why you're doing what you're doing. So the longer I've been involved in social enterprise, the less I know what it is. It seems to be changing, it seems to be growing. The definition is certainly changing. In college, I studied anthropology, and the longer I studied it, the less I knew what it actually was or how to describe it. And I think it's the same with social enterprise. I think it's easier to look at the component parts of social enterprise because they're very definite. So the first thing is the problem. Like most of you guys probably saw an issue and thought this is a serious issue, so it's something I'm passionate about and it's something that probably attracted you personally and you probably had an angle on it that maybe didn't already exist. I think that's what gets most of us involved in the first place. The second part is social enterprise. It shouldn't be just charity. It shouldn't be just doing something good. It needs to have some sort of a business case. You need to create some sort of revenue, this is my opinion. You need to create some sort of revenue, both to fund what you're doing, but also almost as a kind of proof of concept that you have a good that can compete with other things out there, you know. And finally, it needs to be innovative. If you're not innovative, there'll be a charity who'll be doing it or a business who'll be doing it. So you need to do things a little bit differently and communicate about what you do a little bit differently to stand out, to be at least relatively successful and probably move beyond reliance on grant funding to do what you do. This is why I do it, and these are my kind of tactics to grow the thing and to improve things and to maybe work less hard and have a bigger team tomorrow. Because it is achievable. As a social entrepreneur, you shouldn't always be like working non-stop. You should be looking to grow your team. You should be looking to grow your revenue to bring more people in. Like, it shouldn't be a struggle. It should be a success story.
It's constantly changing, it's ever changing. It's not static. So you're working on an activity, see what kind of outcomes you can get that. Does it link into the impact? That's your ultimate goal. What are you trying to achieve? How are you going to change and I suppose inform everybody else within your value network? The impact measurement is the process of designing systems, consulting with stakeholders and collecting data. So this is the actual technical terms of it.
So Spira Nua for me is a personal journey through the criminal justice system. Listen, thanks for listening, and if you've any questions, we'll mingle and chat.
Full disclosure here, huh?
I'm going to just peel it back. Thank you.
Thanks a million for that.
So Spira Nua for me is a personal journey through the criminal justice system. I would have, as a youth, been involved in drugs and crime and criminality and all that type of thing. And when everything came to a head and I knew I was going to prison, I said I would use the time to get an education and become skilled, job ready, you know, reflect on my behaviour, plan for a better future, that type of thing. And I used the time in prison to do just that, naively, because I believe that when the prison sentence was over, the punishment was over, but the reality is the punishment continued. There is a secondary punishment when you try to start again. So looking to secure a house, looking to secure a job, volunteering, going to education, getting insurance, starting your own business, leaving the country. These are all situations where you have to provide a background, you know, and 9 times out of 10, if you have a poor background, you're going to be overlooked, like, you know. So in the early days when I got out, I had a lovely smart pair of shoes and I walked the heels clean off them, knocking on doors looking for work. I was getting told no, 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 no. Applied to college, no. Applied for volunteering roles, no. And like, I just regressed, you know, and I think that's part of the problem, like, you know. So I firmly believe that I would get a job, I would rebuild my life, I'd be able to prove to people that mattered to me, that I'd changed, you know, and that I wanted something better from myself and my life. And I wasn't able to do that straight away. Now I gave up looking for work. I couldn't get work anywhere, but I came across a course in with Equal Ireland, which was business and community development. So I had picked up the business skills to do that, and I was interested from a business point of view, but I wasn't, I'd say, 2 weeks into the course when I heard about the empowerment of people and disadvantaged people and communities, and all that stuff started to really interest me. So I joined the course. Didn't know I was going to pay for the course, but I joined it, and shortly after that then I got a job in a distribution company through a friend. There was no vetting process attached to this, it was just in a back door. And I was able to, I grabbed that job with both hands, and I was able to pay for further education through level 6, 7 and 8. And I was really interested in the whole community development side of things. I didn't see long-term working nights in a distribution company as something that I would like to stay at. So when I got my honours degree and I was a manager in that company, I said I'd go looking for work again, because I thought, I have a good chance here. But same thing again, 10 years later, the background, what happened there, something that will never change, even though I have kept impeding any progress into the community. So I was literally going to walk away from education at that time. I'd spent thousands and thousands on an education I couldn't use. I believe that it's really unfair that people will be judged forever based on the very worst things they did in their lives. Like, I suppose, just for yourselves, like, just kind of think about something that really, gets you embarrassed and feeling funny and, feeling awkward. Imagine having to go through that every time you apply for something and you want to move on, you want to progress. And that's pretty much what everybody does. Like, I call these things, these situations, degradation ceremonies, Like, you've all this good stuff, but then you have to go back and you have to bring up stuff that no longer reflects you as the person you are today. Like, and it's such a challenge, and often insurmountable for an awful lot of people. They just can't see past that, don't want to put themselves through that. So, using a derivative of recognition of prior learning, we're developing their portfolios of commitment to change. So everybody takes certain steps out of a life of crime. Starting point, obviously, when you go to prison, there is a new thing called integrated sentence management programs, where you meet an ISM officer and you can talk about what you can do with your time. So workshops, educational courses, counselling, addiction meetups, that type of thing. And you can develop a plan on how to use your time. But the problem is that doesn't count for any length of desistance. And desistance is kind of abstinence from offending behaviour. That doesn't factor into that. So literally you're getting out fresh. When you get released, that's when the desistance journey is measured. But like, there's lots of positive things you can do with your time when you're away. Like, most recently anyways, like, we are nearly there. We're nearly there with a valid document, and like, if the feasibility study goes as well as it's looking, we'll be moving into job creation. So with that fund, I would like to be in a position where I can pay peer mentors so much an hour for working with other people through the system in building these portfolios of commitment to change. So everybody around me, like, that knew me back then, they're in such a happier space now, because I'm moved out of that. Like, I know my behaviour impacted on an awful lot of people, and when I talk about it, like, there's shame and all that stuff attached to it, but like, there's learning as well, like, and that learning has led me this side, where I'm kind of trying to capture people and help them, be a better version of themselves. Nothing happens overnight, that's for sure, but like, once good people are around you, it is easier to kind of it rubs off on you, So when, like, I was supported by Steve Dolan, then I would be a very good friend of mine. He's the CEO of Galway Rural Development, and he'd known me for a while before I joined the company, and he knows what I'm all about, He doesn't see the label, and people like that, Siobhan Cafferty, they don't see the label, they see the person, the person that you are today, and they are there to support you. And I think a lot of good stuff is happening on that front. So, but massive thanks to Social Impact Ireland for all of the support for the Spring Incubator Programme and our fellow social entrepreneurs as well. There was 10 of us that took part in this, and we've lots of nice connections made, and we're all in touch on the Closer app. And you'll hear more about that now, I'm sure. So listen, thanks for listening, and if there's any questions, we'll mingle and chat.
So it's going to be different for different people depending on where they're coming from. So what does your audience want to hear? But more importantly, what piece of information do you want your audience to hear? So you're coming at it from both angles. There's all the other stuff going on, but the huge important part was people getting back into the workplace, and that was the main impact in it.
And social enterprises are all about challenging the status quo, and the way the sector approaches leadership shouldn't be no different.
Yeah, absolutely. And then
And it was Nexus is a place where things come together. And so that's where we see the commercial world, the research world.
And it's a tough battle, but if you believe in what you're doing and you're helping the people around you, you'll never give up.
Job will be very important because we will be making sure that other people with different ability will have equality when they're applying for a job.
I'll tell you a bit about myself. So I've been working in Cope Foundation for 21 years. Cope Foundation is a large organisation down in Cork, and it supports 2,800 people with intellectual disabilities and autism. That's a lot of people. It's quite a big organisation. And I work at the moment, for the last 4 years, I've worked in the employment sector of Cope Foundation. So my aim is to get meaningful paid employment for people with different abilities and autism. And sometimes we provide training and guidance to get them closer to the labour market if they're not quite work ready yet. When I started working in Ability at Work, and I was working with people who could actually express themselves, I couldn't believe that nobody was listening. You know, they just kept on saying, you know, we just want to be like everybody else. We want to be involved and included, and we just want a normal life. And still, they were just being treated like children and not being afforded the opportunity to have that normal life that they wanted. So in partnership with the people that we support in Ability at Work, we came up with the concept of the Ability Board. So the Ability Board started off as a board of management style structure made up entirely of people with different abilities. And the initial plan was that they'd be an advocacy group as part of Ability at Work, and we'd have to go to them with big decisions about their lives. We wanted to make sure their voices were heard, you know, especially when it was about big decisions in their lives. It wasn't fair that we were making the decisions for them. So I decided that we'd have an election, like a real election, and it would be, they'd vote for their peers and they'd go on campaign trails. And I didn't think it would take off, really. I actually thought they might think it was a bit lame, but it really took off. And they went on a campaign trail at the end of January in 2020, and they all got buses around Cork to all the different day services. And they campaigned, they made posters. Craig spent €180 on a pull-up. Thank God he was elected president. So in March 2020, we had the official elections, and everyone cast a vote, and they've elected a president, a vice president, and a chairperson of the very first Ability Board. And the board has since expanded to include 7 more committee members. And they've successfully, I feel, become the voices for people with different abilities in Ireland. When it comes to marginalised groups, people just assume that they're going to be happy with volunteering for the rest of their lives, and you know, that's not fair. And so the board started naturally progressing from an advocacy group into a social enterprise. And myself, Jamie, and the president, Craig Kelly, completed the Social Impact Ireland Spring Incubator Programme 2021. The support we got from them was phenomenal, but it wasn't just the support you get during the actual course, but it's the aftermath, and they're still around for the aftermath, and they give you one-to-one sessions, and it really makes you feel like, you know, it's tailored to your own social enterprise. And I think Social Impact Ireland once said that Jamie and Craig really changed the way that their way of thinking, so they made a big impact on Social Impact Ireland. And after graduating 2021, we had some successful funding applications, nothing big, but just small. We had the Mitigating Against Education Disadvantage Fund and the Social Enterprise Capital Grant Scheme. And I think that the empowerment that we've felt through the time on the incubator programme has given us the courage and the confidence to better ourselves even further, while at the same time fighting for a cause we're so passionate about. And this year as well, the Ability Board won the Ain to Star Award in the category of Learner Voice. And this was a huge recognition for the tireless work that the Ability Board are doing. Again, I'm not sure if we'd be there or even had the confidence to apply for that award if it wasn't for the support, guidance and mentorship of Social Impact Ireland. They have a gift of making you feel like you're the only social enterprise working with them. So the Ability Board's purpose is clear. We want to enable companies to be more confident when engaging with people with different abilities in their working environment, opening people's minds to the value of people with different abilities and how they can contribute to our collective gain. And we want to, you know, create true inclusive working environments. So the Ability Board want to educate society and employers about the importance of hiring people with different abilities. They want to address the growing inequalities in the labour market against people who are marginalised by breaking the cycle of discrimination. We'll begin by offering critical services to both public and commercial sector businesses. So one of these services that we are providing is interview panel consultancy. So we believe we can transform the recruitment practices in Irish companies by having people with different abilities represented at this key part of the recruitment stage. Another service we're providing is ability awareness training. So this is delivered in conjunction with ability at work staff, so that's the employment sector staff. But the Ability Board's key role is going to be key in this, because we don't think that disability awareness training or ability awareness training can be delivered without having experience. It needs to be the people who know what it's about. It's important for us all to help give a platform to those without a voice, or a means to express their voice. We need to identify diverse leaders like Jamie and Craig with great potential and give them access to the resources, training and mentorship needed to grow and succeed. As the social enterprise community continues to grow and evolve in new ways, the importance of diversity and leadership must remain front and centre. We believe the Ability Board, it's our duty for us to advance this for those of us of different abilities. The work outlined above is our path towards moving to true inclusion in the workplace. It's a big vision, but one that we're confident we can deliver.
We're now in operation 10 years. We support parents with back to school books and uniforms. The environmental aspect of that, so many books would have went to landfill. I came up with the idea because I had 4 children in school at the time, and I wanted to see how I could make it easier on myself, money-wise. So I put the word out there that if anyone had any books or uniforms and would like to donate, that I was having a pop-up shop in the Parkway Shopping Centre, because you need to find out whether, it's a good business venture or not. And we were run off our feet. So I knew I had something there that I could utilise and that other people would get the benefit as well. So no money behind me. I'm sure there's a lot of projects here or startups that are in the same boat and want to know how do you, get it up and running. So I had a karaoke night with friends and family, and I raised my first month's rent. I went and found a place in 72 O'Connell Street, and I stood behind with all my uniforms and my books and the whole lot, and I said, where's the next month's rent going to come from? And it so happened that this Romanian man came into me and wanted to volunteer, no English. So back 10 years ago, he came to Ireland thinking that he'd have a better life, but he ended up volunteering with me. And I always say there's a reason why somebody will come, whenever you need. It's just about happened. You might think I'm mad, but that's how it has happened with me. He was brilliant at selling. Any person from Romania, that they have good background, that they have to make money themselves. So he said to me, Suzanne, you have 3 areas, markets that we can go into. We'll wrap stuff that you got donated and we'll try and sell it. And who was the best person there to make the most money? No English, but he had the selling power. So that's how we brought our money together, and I got my first month's rent. Then we decided that there was different niches there for primary and secondary, and that I'd look at college books, self-help books, all different areas. So in that, I have people from Headways, Daughters of Charity, Employability, Rehab, what else have I? The Ralph Foundation that learn English. So they're our main people that are within the project that keep it going on a day-to-day basis. Now, this is all self-sufficient. It's whatever I sell in the shop in O'Connell Street. So we're just over a busy season. You always have to find different ways. So I don't know, but I heard at the moment that primary school books are now going to be supported by the government. Secondary, that's brilliant for us, but I have to find a new niche. So it's going to be college books. So already we've worked on that. So you always have to be a step ahead. You might have the answers, but you pull skills in from other people as well. And it's a tough battle. But if you believe in what you're doing and you're helping the people around you, you'll never give up. So that's my advice to anyone that's listening today. I enjoy it from the day I had it right through. It's my baby. That's how I look at it. And that, you nurture, you support, and you never give up, no matter where you are in your journey.
The Impact Trail has been an incredible journey that's taken us right across the country. It's been a wonderful opportunity to reacquaint ourselves with people that we had already met, be it in person or on Zoom, but also meet the new people, those we hadn't had an opportunity to meet, and those of you new to the area of social enterprise. It's been really humbling to hear your stories and to see and hear about the social impact that you have through the work that you do. But who are these people? Behind every social enterprise that has an impact, there's an individual who originally had an idea. That idea progressed and grew into a business and brought other people on board. Next up, we want to give you an opportunity to get a little bit more detail about the people behind the social enterprises. We have 3 people coming up who will give us a little bit more detail about the work that they do, why they do it, and the impact that they're having through that work and that dedication to having and making a difference to the lives of others. And now join me for a warm welcome for Joanne Hunter from Books at One.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about Books at One, Joanne, and any of the unmet needs that you're trying to address?
Well, Books at One is a network of locally managed community bookshops. We have 3 bookshops at the moment. 2 of them are in small rural towns, one in Mayo and one in Galway. And our 3rd community bookshop is a bit different. It's in a very vibrant urban area in the Liberties in Dublin. So we believe in Books at One that there is a huge potential within local communities to self-regenerate in terms of their economic, social, educational and cultural capital. And we're tapping into that. We're using the medium of a community bookshop, which is a retail space and a community hub to allow people to bring services back into their community. So we sell books, but we also provide other services. We have a co-working space in our Louisburgh shop. We have a cafe in our Letterfrack shop, and we have workshop space in our Dublin shop as well. And I think this brings in a lot more people than would normally come into a regular bookshop, and it fulfills our community remit as well, that we're bringing in people to a very democratic, comfortable space where they can connect with each other through stories.
Wow, you're providing a huge amount of services. Do you feel that by having diverse income streams that you're better placed to have that greater social impact?
Yeah, I suppose the original idea behind the diverse income streams was financial sustainability, but also by providing these extra services, we're bringing in people that may not see themselves as traditional bookshop customers. So, for example, the co-working space in Louisburgh, that grew out of a need for a good internet connection for people. They were coming into the shop using their phones on their laptops in the shop, which we weren't too happy about. But we recognised the need that people might need to check their emails, and we had some space that was being used as storage space, so it was kind of dead space, and we converted that to a co-working space. So now we have people coming in using the co-working space so that they can live and work in their own rural community. And they're meeting other people who are in similar circumstances. So friendships have grown out of that. And I suppose it has a positive effect on family life as well, that people are living within their local community. They don't have to travel far for work. And also they can spend the money that they earn on the streets of their local town. The other income stream, second-hand books, are very important to us. And the impact of those would be for people who can't afford to buy new books all the time, that they're very affordable. They can probably buy 3 or 4 second-hand books for the cost of a new book. Then in Letterfrack, we have a cafe, and that's part of the bookshop. And Letterfrack is a very busy tourist destination. So during the summer, there's lots going on. There's lots for people to do. But in the winter, a lot of the businesses close down, but we're open all year round. So you'll get some maybe older residents coming into the cafe, and you'll get students from the Design College and students from Youth Reach. So you have a lovely kind of intergenerational mix there, and that has a huge impact on, you know, people gelling with each other within their own community. So I would say yes, you know, the diverse income streams, okay, they provide income, but they definitely increase our impact as well.
Wow, and what kind of service, I suppose, do you feel is having the most impact for you at the moment?
Well, I think really it has to be the book-based events, because that's where the magic happens. So we have lots of different events in the bookshop. So some of them can be story time for young kids, so they can be very lively events where kids enjoy themselves, but they're learning without realising that they're learning. And then we have book launches, we have readings from local authors, and we're very conscious of the fact that we have to support creative people in our own community. So we sell a lot of books by local authors, but then they come in and they do free events for local people. So you could have something, you know, that might not be a huge event. You might only have 12 or 15 people at it, but it can open conversations about things. For example, we had an event recently where a woman had written a book about her experience with having her child adopted in the 80s. And that event had a huge impact on people, because people came to that because they might have had personal experience themselves. And it was a very open forum that people didn't feel intimidated like they would in a large venue. So that's one example of a small event that had a huge impact. But then we have other events where we might have a local artist displaying their work in the shop, and we have a launch for that. So it brings in people to discuss creativity, and it also enables the artists to have their work displayed and earn a living in their local bookshop.
Do you feel that the customers support Books at One because it's a social enterprise?
Yes, definitely. Our local customers, they understand what we're about, and they don't mind if they have to wait a little bit longer to get their book, or if they have to pay a little bit more, because they want to support a local business. We've lost so much in small communities. We've lost shops, GP services, local Garda, the banks and the post offices. So I think people, especially since COVID, actually appreciate what they have locally, and they realise that we're not totally for profit, that they come in and use the services that we provide, or use the workshop space for something that they might have an interest in as well. So I do believe that people locally now understand what we're about, and I think the challenge is to bring more customers in, that people might choose to spend their money with us rather than with an online business that might not even be based within the country, and it'll keep that economic activity local and support employment locally as well.
And what would you say are the impacts that Books at One are currently having nationwide within all the stores?
Well, I suppose the opening of our shops has got a lot of media attention, you know, on press and on radio. And our first shop opened just after a recession. Our second shop opened in the middle of COVID. And then our third shop, which has recently opened, is at the start of a cost of living crisis. So I suppose we've had a forum to talk about what local communities have lost, but also that, you know, that there is hope there and that we can tap into the resources that already exist within local communities, and that we can amplify what we already do in Louisburgh, in Letterfrack and in the Liberties, you know, support local authors, provide employment, work experience. So I think, you know, there is potential to bring this to a nationwide forum as well.
And Books at One are having such an amazing impact. There's just so much going on for you. And what would you say is maybe the one element of impact that's been a surprise, or like something that you hadn't anticipated when you started off?
That would be, I think, the pride of place that Books at One brings to people in each of those local areas. It was a complete surprise to me, because we do spend a lot of money renovating buildings, making them safe and warm and comfortable for people to use them. But to me, that was kind of a necessary evil, that we had to spend the money to create the space where things happened. But from the minute we started renovating the building in the Liberties, people approached us and wanted to know what's going on. And they were delighted to see that we were bringing a bit of life back into that corner of the street where it had been lying vacant for about 12 years. And we do make an effort with the outside of our buildings to make them very attractive to people. And part of that is marketing. We want people to notice the shops and come in and buy their books from us. But the other part is that we want local people to love their bookshop. So we get people involved in the design of our benches outside the shop, or the murals, or the, you know, artwork on the shutters of our shops. So that was a surprise to me, that people want to tell other people, this is our bookshop and we love it and we want you to come and enjoy it as well.
Thank you so much, Joanne. It's been a pleasure as always, and really lovely to hear about the impact that you're having through Books at One. And next up we have Liam Fleming from Shoelella.
Started Shoelella back in 2016 from Claheen in South Tipperary myself, and there's be out walking on just my local trails, and you'd meet very few local people out there. So that was kind of what inspired me to get it started. Through our local GA club, then we developed a Couch to Mountaintop program, which involved 4 walks a week for 12 weeks, and at the end of it we brought them up Galtymore. So that initial feedback then was, you know, people were amazed at the walks that were on their doorstep. But then the other feedback that I got was, it was actually the social connections that people were making, because nowadays it's very hard to meet up with your neighbours, basically. Like, you know, so they found the Shoelella walks a great way of just meeting up with their neighbours, having a chat for an hour and a half, and getting a bit of exercise in. So that's where it all started. Shoelella, when it goes into communities, what we do is we devise walking programs that utilise everything that's already in the community. People do be amazed at the amount of walks that are actually on their doorstep. Most people know of 2 or 3 or 4 walks maybe that in their locality, but when we go in, we can find up to 20, 30, 40 walks that are there on their doorstep. And so what we do then is, you know, you're developing a walking culture in the community. So, you know, we've all various types of walking programs, from maybe up to short ones that only go up as far as 5 kilometres, longer ones that'll bring up to 20 kilometres, or the mountaintop ones. So there's a huge variety of walks. 3 main impacts, I suppose, that we'll have would be that obviously the physical impact. You know, people's physical health would improve from the walks. Health and well-being are at the top. You know, again, you know, a lot of people come and say, you know, that helps them with the mental health issues, like, you know. So and then the one we spoke about, the social side of things. So again, I think that's what really draws most people back, is the actual social connection just with their own neighbours. So it's the physical impact, the health and well-being impacts, and the social connections. Each walk we record every walk, so we know how many people have walked. There's at this stage between 5,000 and 6,000 people have been on a Shillelagh walk. So we record how many have done every walk, the number of walks we've done. We've done over 1,500 walks at this stage. The amount of kilometres they've walked, in total I think it's over 250,000. But each individual walker, as we can tell how many walks they've been on, how many kilometres they've walked, and that's on an individual basis and also on a community basis. Especially in the profiling of it, whether it is the participants themselves, or whether it is profiling for funding or for volunteers, which are obviously the volunteers are what keeps the Shillelagh walking programs going throughout the year. So like without the support of the volunteers, there would be no Shillelagh walks. The one thing that will help improve our impact, I suppose, it's probably like with all others, is extra funding again. So the more funding that we can roll out to more communities. We're practically throughout Tipperary at this stage, but at the next stage we want to go outside Tipperary, and greater funding then will be required for that to go forward.
Thank you so much, Liam, for sharing your journey with social impact through Shillelagh. It's amazing to see how your project has grown over the years. I think you were one of the first participants on our incubator program, and now you have hundreds of people out walking in their local communities. That's having a massive impact in those areas. Next up, all the way from the US, what a pleasure it is to introduce you to Claire McSweeney from Cool Play.
So Claire, lovely to speak to you today from America, California. It must be amazing over there.
It is. It's lovely. It's nice to do winter in the warmth. It's definitely a good change.
That's brilliant. So delighted, Claire, that you can join us from Cool Play today. Can you tell us a little bit about Cool Play and what it is?
Sure. So Cool Play is all about gamifying movement and health for children, so primary school children, and really using technology to engage them at the screens that we all know that they're glued to, and then to draw them away from the screens so that they can be active and playing and developing their skills and their health.
Brilliant. And I'd love to hear about the development of Cool Play to date. Would you be able to just run through it for us?
Yeah, sure. So Cool Play was really founded during the pandemic, but off the back of a lot of research with thousands of kids in the schools, their educators, their parents in Ireland, who've been phenomenal in helping us develop out Cool Play. And so Cool Play is a platform that the educators and the kids can access and parents can access. And really, we launched last year in Ireland, in schools around Ireland, with the support of Sport Ireland, Athletics Ireland, and then we moved on to America. And so we've huge interest in America, in and around healthcare, really improving kids' health and community. And because we know that if kids aren't active enough to be healthy, it can result in significant chronic diseases such as obesity and diabetes. So we have huge interest over here in working in communities over here with elementary school kids.
Brilliant. And is that one of the reasons why you commenced this social enterprise?
Yes, very much so. I was working in the space of, I suppose, adult behaviour change in the corporate sector. And my background is relatively untraditional in sports medicine, health, education, and even health promotion of that behaviour change piece. And it was really just volunteering, coaching in the kids sector, where I started to understand and realise how different today's kids are. And it was a principal asked me to come and said, hey, can you help out our teachers in phys ed? Can you help with the support? Because they don't have a huge amount of support, and you can have 30 kids in a class of all different abilities. And really, how do you engage and support their development, each child's development? And so we take a very human-centered, child-centered approach to that. And I thought, gosh, this is not the way it should be. And I felt I had some skill sets to try and help solve that, and that's where Cool Play was born from.
Brilliant. And tell us about the measuring, whether it's on paper, lots of people just have it in their head, but that measuring and managing of your impact.
Yes, impact is definitely at the core of what we do, and we're always looking at that. So we like to track internal data through our platform. So things, KPIs like, we'll say the student reach or the scale at which we're reaching it, which applies more over here with a larger population. And then like things like looking at the demographic, is it the underserved communities? How are we impacting the child's learning, their health? And then of course the adults, the instructors, the educators. So we track those kind of internal data largely through the platform. But in addition to that, then we have a research study over here as part of a collaboration with a health system. And we're really looking at the impact on health and well-being from clinical data, if you like. So I think that's really, really important that we're looking at all different angles. And then finally, I think we're very strong on, in terms of impact, are we listening to the communities and our partners and their voices, that our solution is adaptable and flexible enough to be able to serve them best and impact them best, so that we get that feedback. So we try to look at it from many different angles, but we always love to expand that out and try to see how else we can measure that.
Brilliant. And thinking forward, then going forward, how would you help to grow your impact even further, or is there a certain type of impact that you'd like to grow further?
I think it's probably twofold. It's our ability as an organization to really comprehensively analyze that impact. So maybe supporting and around developing reports and being able to really nail in and hone in on those metrics and KPIs to be able to have something very comprehensive. We only have so much resources inside, so we may have the data. So helping analyze that data could be really, really helpful. And then I think the linking in to the broader picture and societal change, and that could be, through the Sustainable Development Goals, and linking in on how we're impacting at that level.
Brilliant. And I suppose if you were to choose maybe one change for your social impact, is there anything that you would like to do in that area?
I would say it's back to really around getting something more formal in terms of reporting and being able to demonstrate that. And the more we grow, the more we have more data to be able to show something more robust. And I think just broaden with our reach, particularly now that we're in the US, to be able to show right across the geographies, like what the difference in the impact is. We were also in the Middle East earlier this year, so it'd be very interesting to be able to quantify all that in a very comprehensive way.
Wow, so you're doing a huge amount of traveling there between Ireland, the Middle East and America. Claire, thanks so much for joining us today. Delighted that you can be part of National Social Impact Day. Thanks a million.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Claire, thank you so much for giving those insights, sharing that passion and sharing your journey with social impact. And the best of luck in the US and on the rest of your journey. Next up, we have our very own Nicole Ryan, who's going to talk to you a bit about Closer. And if you don't know what Closer is, stay tuned to hear more.
When I started my social entrepreneurial journey over 6 years ago, one of the biggest challenges that I found was finding a space where I could find information all about social enterprise in one space. It was very ad hoc and I had spent hours looking for stuff. The other thing was that I didn't have a sense of community because I was a solo entrepreneur, which was very, very lonely. That's why at Social Impact Ireland, we've created a platform called Closer. Closer is not just a platform, it's an engaged community. With over 400 social entrepreneurs on the platform already, it's a platform where you can share your wins, your successes, some of your struggles, where you can collaborate, share news, and find all the information you might need around social enterprise in one space. At Social Impact Ireland, our mission is to bring the social enterprise sector closer together. You can find more information on Closer by visiting our website, socialimpactireland.ie, where you can tab onto the Closer tab and find the information on how to join. Alternatively, you can email one of us, the team members at Social Impact Ireland, and we can invite you onto the platform.
And there we have it. It's not often I'm lost for words, but I actually find that quite emotional to have a look at and hear about all the work that has gone into the social enterprise space over the last number of years, and look at that impact that's been created, not just on the impact trail, but with each and every one of you as you've strived towards creating better communities and better societies for all. We have a long way to go. We have the census happening for the social enterprise sector. We have the new policy that's under review at the moment and will be released early next year. So there's still a bit to go. And I only say that to highlight that what we've seen here today is just a portion of the potential that can be created over the next number of years through social enterprise in the social impact space. But for now, I'm not going to focus on the future. I'm going to focus on today and the work that's been done to date. And I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to all of you for being involved, and a very happy National Social Impact Day.